Companies are pushing less pride propaganda this year. Why is that? And how should we respond? Also, a new proposal in Congress says that women will be drafted. Oh my goodness, Brie and I are discussing all of this, responding to this craziness on today's episode of Relatable. Hey guys, welcome to Relatable. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone has had a wonderful week. All right, before we get into it, I've just got a few announcements. I haven't made, I don't think, any announcements this week. I've saved it for the last episode of the week. Just some reminders. We've got some merch at alliemerch.com. We've got our Relatable hats that we release before Father's Day, but of course they're evergreen. You can get them any time of the year. We've got the trucker hats that we partnered with Range Leather to make, so that's genuine leather. The patch on the front, it's got a salmon because we are swimming upstream as courageous Christians against the current of the culture and the chaos and the craziness that it brings. And then we've also got the Do the Next Right Thing stitched hats with the acronym on there. We've got lots of fun stuff coming for the fall too. We're taking a little bit of a break on merchandise until we have things for the fall, which we're excited about. And speaking of the fall, y'all, we've got our Share the Arrows event that is coming up on September 28th. This is specifically for the women. If this goes well, then maybe in the future we'll also have an event for the Relatable Bros, but this one is for the women. ShareTheArrows.com. That's where you can learn all about it. It is sponsored by Carly Jean Los Angeles. We will also be partnering with them for some fun stuff that you'll be able to get while you're there. We've got Rosaria Butterfield. She is the incredible theologian, author, former queer theory professor whose testimony has just, I think, rocked the Christian world, and her boldness is incredible. Elisa Childers, the incredible apologist. Abby Halberstadt, the author, the mother, homeschooler of 10 kids, who is going to bring so much wisdom. We've got music by Francesca Battistelli. I'm sure that she needs no introduction or explanation. She is the Grammy Award-winning Christian artist. Guys, there are going to be thousands of like-minded Christian women there. Do not be afraid to fly in by yourself. I know that that's intimidating to walk into a room where you don't know anyone. You're afraid maybe that there's going to be cliques, that everyone's going to be from the Dallas area and that you're not going to know what to do. Do not worry about that. I'm telling you, if you are not coming by yourself, if you're coming with your sisters, your mom, your friends, look around when you're there. Look for the person that's by herself. Take her in. Say, hey, come sit with us. Where are you from? What's your name? And I'm telling you, if you are coming by yourself, that there are going to be so many women there ready to link arms with you, ready to become your friend. At the very least, enjoy the day with you and just debrief after every talk, get lunch with you, worship with you. But also, this could be the start of lifelong friendships. And that's what we need. That's why it's called Share the Arrows, because every day we are talking about the depravity, the degeneracy, contrasted by God's faithfulness, His goodness, His order, and the mandate that He has given us to be agents of His gospel, agents of order in all of these spaces. And what we can draw from that distinction, that juxtaposition, is that we can't do this alone, that darkness is real, but so is light, that Satan is powerful, but God is more powerful. And so often we're asking ourselves, like, what is God going to do about all this injustice, about all this corruption and all of this chaos? Why isn't He doing more? Why isn't He delivering people from true oppression and true injustice and the scariness and the violence and just the absolute craziness going on in the world? Why isn't He doing more for that? But what He does is He sends His Christians into those dark spaces, into those depraved spaces. And He allows us to be salt and light, to be ministers of goodness and righteousness and justice. And so what we're doing at the Share the Arrows event, we're not just bringing like-minded people together to listen to awesome speakers. I'm also going to be speaking, by the way. My name isn't listed among the speakers, but I am going to be speaking, of course, and meeting so many of you there. But we are also making sure that, okay, we're coming together as like-minded Christian women saying, we're all on the same page, right? Like, we all believe in God's inerrant, infallible word as our standard. We all believe that God has called us to a spirit of courage, and we've got each other's backs, right? Like, we're not going to allow any of us to stand alone. We're not going to allow any one of us to stand up by ourselves and to take all the arrows from the enemy, wherever that is in your life, wherever you are swimming upstream and standing against the opposition. We're all going to stand up for each other, right? And yes, of course, we are. That's what share the arrows means. That when you see someone derided in any way for their beliefs, whether they're getting fired, whether they're just getting bullied, whether they're getting sued, rather than saying, oh, I am so glad that that's not me. I can't believe they said that controversial thing that aligns with the Bible. Now I know to hold my tongue. No, no, no. That is the attitude of a coward. And that is not the attitude of love, by the way, because you are not then treating someone how you would want to be treated. How would we want to be treated if we decided to stand up in courage? We would want fellow Christians to stand up and say, you know what? You're sending arrows her way. Send them my way too. She's not going to take all the arrows by herself. Nope, you're going to have to send them my way too. Whatever sacrifices you are demanding that she make, I'm going to make them too, if I have to. And so that's what Share the Arrows is. That's what this event is about. This is going to be encouraging. It's going to be empowering. It's going to be educational. These women that we are bringing to you, I mean, they are the best of the best. And I'm just so excited for that event. I'm so excited to meet so many of you. I'm so thankful to the Lord for this opportunity. It really is going to be so unique, just the right time before the election, when it's going to feel like we are like just wanting to tear our hair out with the propaganda that we are seeing. This is going to be a truth-filled conference. So again, September 28th, Dallas, Texas, at a big church in the Dallas area. Go to sharethearrows.com. Bring everyone that you think would be interested in it. All right. I think that's it as far as announcements go. Of course, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't already. Leave us a 5-star review if you love this podcast on Apple Podcasts. It means so much to us. All right. We're actually going to get into some good news before we get into the typical crazy news that we talk about. And I'm going to bring producer Brienne to weigh in and to let us know her observations of this good news. But first, let me go ahead and pause. I'll tell you about our first sponsor for the day. It is a lovely sponsor, a sponsor that you are going to want to support if you are a mom of little ones, or if you're a grandmother, or maybe if you just know people with babies and need diapers. You should be getting your diapers from Every Life. I've got a diaper subscription from Every Life. They send me those diapers every month, and I love it because I am supporting a pro-life diaper company, a godly diaper company. You would hope that that characterizes all diaper companies, that at least they would be against abortion, but unfortunately that's not true. Some of these big diaper companies are donating dollars to Planned Parenthood, which is just insane. I saw just the other day a major natural diaper company celebrated Father's Day by celebrating and glorifying forced motherlessness, which is what 2 men raising a baby is. And I don't want to support that anymore. So that's why I love getting my diapers from Every Life. Plus, I can rest assured that the ingredients are top notch. They really are so absorbent too. We can attest to that in our family. So go to everylife.com, use code Allie10. You'll get 10% off your order when you do. That's everylife.com, code Allie10. Okay, so I posed this question on X earlier this week. I think it was earlier this week. And I first stated my observation that there seems to be a lot less pride stuff in the businesses that I frequent this year. Even the brands that I follow, they're not posting as much about pride. I said none of the businesses I frequent have pride stuff out this year. Most of them did last year. One in particular had a whole rainbow apparel display this year. Nothing anyone else see the same thing. And I posted this on X. I posted it also on Instagram. And the vast majority of the comments and replies I received affirmed what I said, agreed, and said, oh yeah, it's been a lot more understated this year. One of you actually sent me a picture of your local Target. I still have not been in a Target, and I think it's 3 years, 2 or 3 years. If you can't tell, I have a hard time remembering when things happen, whether it was like a week ago or 2 years ago. That's what motherhood does to you. But you posted a picture of your local Target that had no Pride stuff, at least up front, which is where it was prominently last year. And it actually had a sign instead that was a patriotic red, white, and blue sign that said, thank you for your service. It was a message to veterans, which I think is incredible. And I know that there are different Targets across the country, depending on the region that you're in, that has Pride stuff, and then others don't. Some it's still prominent in the front of the store, and others it's not. Like I said, one of the businesses that I frequent, I remember last year just rolling my eyes because while they didn't have anything that was explicitly LGBTQ, they had different kinds of apparel and accessories in their store that were just rainbow. And it was very obvious how they had arranged everything to pay homage to Pride Month last June. And this year it is nothing, absolutely nothing, not implied, not subtle, not even like an understated tiny Pride display. It's nothing. And I think that is really interesting. I think it's really interesting. Now, some people are saying, well, it's an election year, and so they're trying to not scare people away because it is just so in your face to the point to where even centrists are like, okay, can we not? Does everything have to be gay in June? Can't something just like be neutral? And so some people are saying, oh, it's a conspiracy, or it's an organized effort to try to tone it down this year so people don't freak out before the election. That may be true. But I doubt that all of these local businesses and some of the businesses that I've been in, that they're all part of some like grand organized effort to tone down Pride in an election year. Like, I really think it's because of the pushback and the backlash. I really do. And I think that's a great thing. Of course, I always advocate for raising a respectful ruckus for the things that matter. And this matters. We don't need companies. We don't need libraries. We don't need public schools pushing a movement that is about someone's sexual preferences. We just don't. Like, of course, from a Christian perspective, marriage is between one man and one woman. That is the only context for holy sexuality. But even outside of that, there is no reason to push gender deception and people's sexual preferences in spaces where, really where the general public is, but especially where children are going to go. And I think it's extremely subversive and intentional for the symbol of this sexual revolution to be a rainbow, because those kinds of colors are very attractive to a child. So again, that to me just seems intentional and evil, actually. But all Christians have asked for, a lot of people have asked for, is like, can we just have a neutral space? Like, I'm not asking you to sell ESV study Bibles everywhere. Like, I'm not asking Target to put Genesis 1:27 like at the front of their store. That would be awesome, by the way. I might actually go back to Target if that were the case. I'm not asking that. Christians are not asking to Christianize every space. Maybe they should be, but that's not what Christians are asking. Christians are asking, okay, if I go to a gym, can it just be a gym? If I take my child into a classroom, can it just be a classroom where they're learning how to read and write? They're learning phonics, they're learning math, they're learning history. Can it just be that? Like, do we have to talk about sex in the classroom? Do they have to talk about the possibility of being born in the wrong body, which is an evil, false idea? Can they not just learn the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic? Is that not possible? Like, can I just go to a restaurant to like order a hamburger? Does it have to also be rainbow themed? That's all people are saying. Can you watch a football game? Can you watch a baseball game without seeing a freaking drag queen and fishnets on the TV screen? Is that possible? That's all people are asking for. And the funny thing is, Christians are always accused of shoving Christianity in your face, of being fascist and Christian nationalists and trying to force people to be Christians, to be theocrats. No, it is your sexually depraved, progressive religion that is constantly being pushed in our faces. And if we do not bow down at the altar that you demand us to bow down before, you call us names, you sue us, you fire us, you attempt to cancel us in a variety of ways. And so, as always, it is actually the left that is extremely imperialistic, extremely theocratic, extremely totalitarian and tyrannical, extremely fascist, and all of the accusations that they lodge at our side, they're really just projections. They're really just projections. You see that they're freaking out. I don't know if you guys saw this, that Louisiana now is requiring that the 10 Commandments be in every public school. And the ACLU is suing the state of Louisiana because, oh my gosh, this is so awful. But look, even that is neutral compared to what we are seeing with LGBTQ and Black Lives Matter propaganda in public schools. I'm not saying that it is actually neutral. I actually don't believe that there is any such thing as neutrality. Really, it is either light or darkness, good or evil, and all beauty and all truth is on the side of God, and all ugliness and chaos and deceit and depravity is on the side of evil. So there's not really any true neutrality, but really what people are wanting when they say, oh, we just want basic decency, we just want a social contract, we just want politeness, we just want neutrality. What they're really saying is that we do want the underlying Christian ethic of treating people with dignity and kindness without having to celebrate all of the religious dogmas of the left. That's what people really want. And I would say the 10 Commandments are a part of that. When Louisiana says, okay, we're putting the 10 Commandments in all of our schools, they're not saying you have to worship God. They're not saying you have to read the Bible. They're not saying that you, teacher, have to preach the Bible, or that you can't talk about other belief systems or whatever. It's not the state forcing a particular religion on public school students or on public school teachers. And really, the defenders of this law, I think, are right that you can't understand American history. You can't understand the history of human rights. You can't understand the history of the abolition of slavery. You can't understand the Constitution. You really can't understand Western civilization without knowing the 10 Commandments, without understanding the 10 Commandments, without realizing that the founders believed in a transcendent lawgiver. And then he delegated the law giving to Moses. And that is just a historical fact, at least the existence of Moses giving this law to the Israelites, and that laying the basis for Western civilization. The left is freaking out about this, absolutely freaking out. All of a sudden, they think any hint of religion in public schools is evil indoctrination and brainwashing. But a teacher reading I Am Jazz to a 7-year-old that says you can be a boy in your body, but you're a girl on the inside, and you should go down this very destructive path of mutilating your body to try to do the impossible to change sexes, that's totally fine. That's just neutral. That's not indoctrination at all. A drag queen reading kids' books to kids in a library, that's not evil indoctrination. That's just totally neutral. That's great. No, it's evil. And by the way, all education is indoctrination. This goes back to the fact that there's no such thing as neutrality. All education is indoctrination. It's just a matter of what doctrines you are placing in someone. Are you placing in the doctrines of secular humanism, which has led to all the depravity and the chaos we see today? Or are you laying the foundation of the truth about natural law, the truth that we at the very least have a creator who made our bodies and made ourselves with purpose, that is, by the way, what you are choosing between when you choose between a secular education and an explicitly Christian education. So all education is indoctrination. There really is no neutrality. The question that we have before us is like, what kind of foundational religion do we want? And I would say that Christianity is actually the much more tolerant one. And the one that most people, if they had to choose and they really understood the principles of progressivism versus Christianity, would choose Christianity. Progressivism doesn't have a history of true human rights because they don't believe people are made in the image of God and have innate dignity just because they are human. Christianity is led by truth and love. And so we care about the body. We care about what is good for a person. We don't just affirm sin and lies because it feels good. Whereas progressivism values as its highest virtue empathy, which just affirms people's feelings even to the point of affirming their addictions, affirming their fake identities, and affirming their depravity and sin, much to their detriment. And so I know that might seem like a much bigger conversation than just like pride displays, but we are in this kind of ideological battle right now. And I am encouraged. I am encouraged to see people say, I'm fed up with that. I don't want to see that at my local store. And I'm going to say something about it. I don't care if you call me a Karen. What did I say about Karens yesterday? Some Karens are the sentinels of civilization. They're necessary to keep things in order. So you go, Karen. You called your Target last year and said, you know what? I'm canceling my red card. If you keep selling compression tops for young girls to mash down their boobs because they want to be boys, or tucking bathing suits that seem to be targeting adolescent boys who want to pretend like they're girls. That's what Target was selling last year, okay? It's evil. And will not, by the way, forgive them and go back to that store without a complete about face and public confession and repentance. They're doing their darndest to get the suburban mom back by paying all of these influencers to talk about Target, but I shall not be going back because they are undoubtedly still on the side of evil, even if they're toning things down, which I'm happy about. Okay, I said that we would get Bree's take on all this, and we will in just a second. Let me tell you about our second sponsor, though. It's America's Christian Credit Union. Okay, we're talking about the lack of neutrality in so many of our institutions. There was a time when you would go to a bank and the banks wouldn't care what you believed. They wouldn't care about how you voted or the things that you said. They were there to serve you, their customer. Most institutions used to think that way. Those were better days. That's not the case anymore. A lot of these major financial institutions are actually cutting ties with customers because they don't like how their customers spend their money. Say they think that they're buying too many guns, or they don't like what their customers say online, or they don't like their political affiliation. And so they're saying, sorry, you are debanked. That's a very dystopian, awful reality to live in. You just want to make sure that that never happens to you. So switch to America's Christian Credit Union. They have been serving families, ministries, and businesses across the country for over 65 years, God-fearing Americans just like you. So many of these individuals and entities have ditched the big banks and chosen ACCU as their trusted financial partner instead. You get all the convenience of still having the big bank, so 35,000 branches and ATMs nationwide, but you don't have to worry about working with people when it comes to your finances that hate you and hate your values. So make the switch to America's Christian Credit Union. To learn more, go to americaschristiancu.com/switch. Okay, Brie, have you noticed in your own day-to-day life less pride stuff out there?
Yeah,
You
I
have?
have. I think it's most prominent like on TikTok, in commercials when I'm like watching Hulu or something, commercials come up. I feel like last year there were so many that were specifically targeted toward like Pride Month. I
Yeah.
haven't seen any commercials like specifically about that.
Mm.
And on TikTok and Instagram Reels, I'm seeing a lot of people who are, I think, more typically progressive. They're fed up with this as well.
They're fed up?
They're
Like
fed up
saying
with
what?
it.
I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know.
I think there are a lot of, so actually one of these people we've reacted to before, a lot of like trans influencers, for example, who people have now turned against because they're doing things like talking about genitalia in public or like at Disneyland. We've reacted to that guy a couple times. And a lot of these people who are left leaning are now making videos about how fed up they are with people like that and how they wish that companies would stop promoting people like that, which is kind of refreshing. Obviously, they still support all that stuff to begin with, but yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people. I think people are exhausted because I think it's been shoved down their throat so much, and I don't think the messaging does it for people anymore. And companies realize that.
I think a lot of people are realizing that it is not just about like empathy and authenticity, but that there is a very sexual component to all of this, which of course we have always known that it's really about sexual immorality. But I think a lot of people on the left, or a lot of people who have at least been sympathetic toward it, are like, oh, this is really sexual. And I just don't think that it's necessary for kids to be a part of.
Yeah. And I will say, I think the international companies understand a little bit less still, like they haven't caught up, I think. Are you familiar with Tony's?
Yes.
The company?
Yes.
So it's a German toy company.
Yes. Tony's is, a lot of you have like a Tony box, and it's a cool concept, but I think there actually is a Christian version. I just can't remember the name now, so y'all should look it up. But it's like, it's a audio box, and you buy these little magnetic toys to go on top of them. So if I had a Tony box and I stuck like Ariel from The Little Mermaid on top of it, it would tell the story of The Little Mermaid and like sing the songs. And it's a great non-screen way to like entertain your kids. So just they're very popular, just for context. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was talking to a friend about that. She was trying to get one, and she noticed that there was a Pride one. But these toys are for ages 3 and up, by the way. So they have a little Tony that I guess explains pronouns and gender stuff and all that kinds of stuff. So she was telling me this, and I went on their Instagram. There's a Tony's US, there's a Tony's France, there's a Tony's UK. The only one that was rainbow was Tony's US. And so I messaged them and I asked, why are you only rainbow in America and not the other ones, not even Europe? And they said, great question, Brie. We have pages that are moderated by different international teams. So this page shares different marketing elements. So clearly someone there thought America is the market where this is going to work still.
So crazy. Tony's Saudi Arabia doesn't have
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Tony's China? Wow.
I know. Maybe one day.
That's always been a joke every year that a lot of these companies, like, you know, the car companies, BMW, Toyota, that they would change their profile picture in the month of June to like the rainbow. Like I'm looking right now, BMW, they've got like a rainbow around their logo on X. But if you look at BMW India, nope. BMW Turkey, nope. BMW South Africa, yes. Okay, that's interesting. Let's see if they have BMW like Saudi Arabia. No. Surprising. I know. BMW Iran, do they have BMWs? I don't think they have BMWs there. I think they have a lot going on. Let's see. BMW France, nope. No, they don't have the rainbow either, which is interesting because we think of Europe as really progressive, especially places like France and Germany. Germany is like ground zero for this stuff, for a lot of things. So why do you think that is?
I think it probably is the past couple years. I mean, obviously news in America makes its way all around the world. And I think a lot of this LGBTQ stuff, I think people in other countries see it and they're like, oh, that's what's going on in America then. And I think in their eyes, it's like, well, that's what they do. Yeah. So that's what it is there.
And it is worse here in a lot of ways. I think because you see in the UK, you see in places like Sweden, that they are really taking a second look, especially when it comes to kids and cross-sex hormones and the procedures that are allowed, because there have been lawsuits. And I'm hoping, like based on the conversation we had with Soren earlier this week, that those lawsuits will really start making a difference here, because money talks. Yep. Money talks in the sense that that's why I think a lot of doctors are going along with this. It makes money. But money talks also in the sense that if they feel like they're going to lose money because of these lawsuits, that they're going to stop. So I hope that plays a part in all of it. America is so interesting. Like, I think people in Europe think that America is like all just a bunch of like conservative cowboys. And really, like, we're so much more, in a terrible way, more progressive on abortion. Mm-hmm. We're more progressive when it comes to LGBTQ stuff in some ways. Germany is awful, too, in some ways.
Surrogacy and IVF.
And so is Canada. Yes, surrogacy and IVF. The wild, wild west when it comes to that stuff. I would say immigration. I don't know if many other countries have the absolutely porous border that we do, with just foreign nationals pouring in from all over the world without like any mitigation.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I think like France and the UK, that's probably one of their top issues.
Yes.
Because people from North Africa are coming in.
Now, do you think that I know that's kind of off topic, but you lived in France for a while. Do you think that is turning around? Because I do see over there, that seems to be left, right, center. If you live in the UK, if you live in even like Ireland, Scotland, France, Spain, you see a lot of people really fed up with the mass migration and the consequences on crime and the dignity of women and girls. Do you see people like doing an about face on that?
Now I have, because of the recent elections in the EU, and it showed, we don't have to get all the way into it, but in France, for example, there was a large majority that voted for the right party. Le
Pen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened with that?
I can't give you specifics because I don't know the ins and outs of the French government and the EU Parliament, but basically they voted in support of her. Le Pen people have compared her as like the Trump of France.
Yeah.
And so she is running for president in the next cycle, which I think isn't until 2027. But because people voted for the right in such large numbers, Macron, the current president, had to call a snap election because people weren't supporting his party enough. So again, I don't know all the details, but
even what that means. So is it possible that Le Pen will take power? If you want to say it like that.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
We don't know.
In the next election, I think she will for sure.
Yeah.
I think now the population there is showing that they're done with this.
Yeah.
And she's going to shut the borders down, I think. Yeah. So.
Well, we hoped that too. And we did not plan to talk about any of this. So if it's like, why don't you know the answers? That's because this is just me just curious talking about this. Giorgia Meloni, I think it's Georgia, in Italy. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, I posted that video of the speech that she gave when she won the election. Just awesome. Like, talking about the natural family. And they have done some good anti-surrogacy things in Italy. But she has turned out, at least from what I see from a lot of people, to be kind of a disappointment when it comes to immigration. And when it comes to retaining Italy's culture. She just has been working, it seems, with the WEF and with the progressive wing. And so I don't know if Le Pen would be the same way.
I don't either, but I know even when I lived there, she ran in the last election cycle too.
Yes,
when I lived
remember
there. That. And I think she's been relatively consistent. And the people who voted against her hate her.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is a sign that she's doing something right. So
okay, can we talk about Macron for a second? This kind of has to go back to the LGBTQ stuff. You don't like Macron. I mean, he's on the left. And Brigitte, his wife. Okay, tell us how they met, because Brigitte is a lot older than Macron, right?
Yeah, it's gross. So Brigitte Macron is 71 years old, and Emmanuel Macron is the president of France, is 46.
And how long have they been married? Do we know?
They've been married. Let's see. He married her in 2007.
Okay.
But they met when she was his teacher, and he was a teenage boy.
How old was
underage.
he? So he was like 16.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
And
he was
she-
15. I
Okay.
think.
So that would have put her in her 40s, right?
Yes, and she was married. She had kids that were older than him at the time, and she didn't. She didn't date him. That's what they say until he was an adult. But she did leave her family for him.
When
So-
he was how old, do we know?
I think he was in his 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. So she waited. I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So weird. So she left her family for him. Can we talk about the rumors that have circulated? I mean, I first saw Candace Owens talk about this. Is this a thing? People thinking that she's a man?
I had never heard of that actually before Candace was talking about it.
I mean, she's really petite. That would be surprising.
Yeah.
To me.
I mean, yeah. She just is like a 70-year-old woman to me. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
People in France are talking about that. So
They are?
They aren't. They are not talking about
talking
that.
about that.
As far as I know.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Interesting. Do they have kids together?
What?
Do they have kids together?
I don't think so. I
Macron,
think
she
she was
doesn't
probably too old.
Or?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
goodness. So weird. Okay. Well, I just wanted to see what was going on with our friends in Europe over there.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that the LGBTQ lobby, that they don't push things over there. But here's what I think it tells us. Because, whenever we have Justin Haskins on, whom I absolutely love. I love getting his perspective so much on everything that's going on with the WEF. Whenever we talk about BlackRock and Klaus Schwab and all of these super, super internationally powerful people who are very powerful, I feel very hopeless. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're just going to get steamrolled. There's no reason for us to even push back or speak up or anything because these people are so powerful. They have all the money in the world. But then I see things like this. And while it's not some giant, huge victory, like maybe we have more power than we think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they want us to think we don't have power. Maybe they are a little afraid.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's true. And I think, obviously, this is such a cliche, but obviously people need to keep speaking about it because it's the only way that they're going to hear it. So I think before they thought they had a lot more power than they did. And even the Bud Light thing, which, is like a meme at this point, but like that said something to people and they're still feeling the effects of that. And I think that matters.
I think Target felt the effects of it.
Yeah.
I think that if they hadn't, all of these entities would have just doubled down and they would have said, we're going to do it bigger and better this year.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say. We're going to have Dylan Mulvaney blow up doll at the front of every store.
Yeah.
But obviously they cared. And as I've been saying for the past few years, for Target, the Christian conservative suburban mom is their target demo. That is their main customer base. It used to be a thing to go pick up your coffee and then go to Target and spend $150 that you don't need to spend. That was the thing. And then at least enough of those people said, I can't support that anymore. And they felt it. And I have a message about that in just a second. But let me pause. Let me tell you about our next sponsor for the day. That is Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They really are the only one. The great thing about Patriot Mobile is that they offer dependable nationwide coverage. They give you the ability to access all three major networks, which means that you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. They have a 100% US-based customer service team. They make switching really easy. It's just another way to make sure that your money is in line with your values. You're supporting things like freedom of speech, religious freedom, the sanctity of life, the Second Amendment, our military, veterans, first responders when you make the switch to Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/Allie. When you use code Allie, you get free activation. That's patriotmobile.com/Allie, code Allie. right. So here's what I will say to that. I will say, keep going, keep pushing, because even if it didn't change anything, even if all these companies did decide to double down and that they were going to do more rainbows and trans flags than ever, just did not care at all about you raising a respectful ruckus, I would say it still matters because you are doing the right thing. You are obeying God. You are being courageous. You are simply being a Christian. You are advocating for what God calls good and right and true. And because we love our neighbor, and because God created our neighbors, and because he embodies and defines love, it is in love. It is for our neighbors that we represent truth. That doesn't mean that we're rude. We're not arrogant about it. We're not mean-spirited about it. We are kind. We are gentle, but we are relentless. So whether or not these companies back off, we keep pushing. We keep unapologetically standing for truth because we believe that God's ways are better. Yes, every single one of our neighbors. It's better for everyone. It's better for every single person of every single background to live in a country that is ordered by God's ways because God is good and loving and righteous, and he created all of us and knows what is best. Remember, Christians have both the right and the responsibility to represent our worldview in every single space that we occupy. The secular world would have you believe that you are the only kind of person with the only kind of worldview that needs to be hidden under a bushel. That it is okay to be a Christian as long as you do one of two things. You either are a Christian in name only. You don't really believe in the Bible. You don't really act it out. You don't vote in alignment with Christian values. You don't speak in alignment with Christian values. You don't believe that God and his word really have any kind of authority. You just believe that Jesus is this cheerleader that affirms all of our wants and dreams and would never, ever tell anyone that they need him or need salvation or need forgiveness or should repent or live a holy life at all. That's one kind of Christian that you can be. The main commandment is just to be nice and just to be tolerant of people's sin. The other kind of Christian that secular progressives say that you can be is the kind that maybe secretly believes what the Bible says, all of it, including Genesis 1, including Romans 1, including 1 Corinthians 6, including John 14:6. You can believe all of that, but you have to be really quiet about it. And as soon as you leave your house, you check all of that stuff. You leave it behind. As soon as you go to work, as soon as you go to the voting booth, as soon as you go to the public sphere and the public square, whether that's on your phone or whether that's at school or whether that's in your job, whatever it is, you have to leave that stuff behind and you have to adopt the new religion, which is secular progressivism, which secular progressives would like you to think that that's just a neutral worldview, completely without any religious dogmas. But as we've already covered, that is not true. It has its own religious doctrines, its own assumptions about human nature and sin and right and wrong and our purpose and who created us and why we're here. And Christianity does not go along with in any way secular progressivism. It is opposed to it in every single way. It is contradicted to it in every single way. And so they have been able to be so pervasive and so dominant in every sector of society by convincing people that liberalism, that secular progressivism is just neutral. It's just neutral niceness or nice neutrality, and it's not. We've seen that. I love that phrase from Abigail Schreier's book, full of empathy and mean as hell. Yes, that's what progressives have become in so many ways, so domineering. As we see with Jack Phillips. By the way, Jack Phillips, the cake baker of Masterpiece Cake Shop, who refused to make a cake for a gay wedding and for gender-affirming trans parties and things like that. He has been in litigation. He has been trying to defend himself for over a decade now. He is in court yet again because these LGBTQ activists have been absolutely hounding him with lawfare for over 10 years because he will not make cakes that celebrate their depravity. And they want to say that we're the ones trying to shove things at people's faces. Look, I mean, in more ways than one, LGBTQ activists like to do that. And so don't believe that lie. Don't believe that lie that we have to check our worldview at the door. No, this is still in many ways a free country. You still in many ways have free speech. You still in many ways have freedom of religion. You have every right, every responsibility to bring your full worldview into the public sphere. If they do, then you do too. Then you do too. Do not compartmentalize your faith. Don't compartmentalize God. Jesus is king. God created the heavens and the earth are not neutral statements. They are not compartmentalized statements. They are total statements. It is not possible for you to separate your faith from your politics because your politics are downstream from your faith and what you believe about God. That does not mean that we advocate for living in a theocracy where everyone is forced to go to church, forced to be a Christian. It just means that our worldview informs what we think about politics, culture, social issues, how we define marriage, how we define love, how we define right and wrong, just like everyone else's worldview helps them define those things. May the best ideas win. May the best ideas win. And by the way, this was founded as, even if we don't agree with all the theology of the founding fathers, this was founded as a country based on Christian doctrines, explicitly Christian doctrines. If you look at all the founding documents, if you looked at what the founders believed, and not just the founders of the country, but if you look at the original charters from the original colonies, some of the first states, the necessity of the leaders in those states at the very beginning to be confessing Christians, like that is baked into the Christian foundation. The Constitution was meant for a moral and religious, aka Christian people. That doesn't mean that people can't believe what they want to believe in this country or even worship how they want to worship in this country, as long as you understand that the premise that we should be working with, the assumptions, the presuppositions, the foundation that we should be working with in the United States is basic Christian teachings. That is the uniqueness of America. That is why we ever have accomplished anything objectively good in the United States, is because of those foundations. So you should not be ashamed to bring that worldview into the public world and to push back in the name of that, by the way. And again, we're not asking companies to be Christian, but we're asking them to remove that kind of religious dogma and depravity, that of secular progressivism and the sexual revolution. And so keep pushing. Yes, you're going to be called a Christian nationalist. Most people that call you that have no idea what that means. I have never called myself that. I have never advocated for a theocracy, and yet I am included in some kind of documentary that David French is in, accusing me of being that. I just heard the other day that I am one of the most outspoken Christian nationalists, which is absolutely absurd. That is some kind of designation for the feds to use. And their example, their proof of that was that I criticize IVF. Oh, so basic Christian teaching, especially basic, specifically Catholic teaching, is now that what constitutes being a Christian nationalist. I'm not going to apologize for believing that Christians have the right and responsibility to speak our worldview, to represent our worldview, and yes, to bring our worldview into every single sphere that we occupy. Progressives do it every day, and our ideas are better because we're right and they're wrong. No apologies there. So keep pushing. Don't let up at all. If I know a lot of you are not boycotting Target, I never say that everyone has to do all the same boycotts that I do. I don't boycott everything. This is a choice that I have made. I am happy that I have done it. I will keep doing it. But if you are with me on that, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't let up, because that's what they want, by the way. They're like, oh, we can just give in just a little bit without changing what we really believe, and they'll just be back next year if we reward them for that. So I'd say keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep speaking up, keep going to the school board meetings, keep refusing to play the pronoun politeness game at the school that you work at the hospital that you work at the company that you work with. Stay strong. Stand strong and all of that. All right. We got a couple other things to talk about quickly. Maybe just one other thing. Let me tell you about our last sponsor for the day first. And that is Blaze TV. Blaze TV, of course, they distribute this podcast, which I am very thankful for. But I'm telling you here that you need to subscribe to Blaze TV. I know that you love getting this podcast for free on YouTube or listening wherever you listen, but the reason that we would love for you to subscribe to Blaze TV is because, especially in an election year, you just never know. You never know what's going to happen when the censors are going to say, oh, nope, we don't like that perspective. We want to make sure that that person is not circulated, that perspective is not widely distributed because it might contribute to people not voting for Democrats. And we don't want that. Can't put anything past the censors. We've seen that time and time again. And so we want to make sure that you can access not just my content, but Glenn's content, Steve Deace, Jason Whitlock, all the amazing hosts at Blaze TV, should we get deplatformed at some point. It's a way you can support us. Also, we've got a ton of content on Blaze TV that is exclusive for Blaze TV subscribers that I do not share for free. And so it's just for those who pay that very affordable monthly price for that Blaze subscription. So if you go to blazetv.com and use code Allie, you'll get $20 off your subscription. You'll have access to everything, all the amazing documentaries on Blaze TV, so much good stuff. Just go to blazetv.com for $20 off using code Allie. blazetv.com, code Allie. Okay, so we have a lot of things left in our research document to talk about. So I have to decide what we are going to discuss, because we had some extemporaneous discussion about Brigitte Macron that took up some of our time. I think I'm going to talk about the gay football league, Brie. That football is gay. If they wanted a gay football league, they could have just called it soccer. Oh, sorry for all of you soccer fans out there. Just kidding. But apparently we decided that in America we wanted a gay football league, and the Buffalo Bills became the latest NFL franchise, according to Fox News, to support new LGBTQ plus flag football team. We are excited. This is according to ngffl. This is a chapter, National Gay Flag Football League. I cannot believe that we are doing this. This is the tweet, the post. We are thrilled to bring inclusive flag football to Buffalo with the support of the Buffalo Bills. This exciting addition joins 27 other cities and over 4,000 players, including straight allies, in the National Gay Flag Football League. What is this? What is it? Can you explain it to us?
This is just a flag football league that is meant to be inclusive.
It's professional. We can watch it on TV?
Technically, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know how one qualifies for flag football professionally, but and it's just meant to break down barriers and challenge stereotypes, and I guess the NFL can't do that enough. So
okay, so it can't be tackle because we've got women identifying as men, and that wouldn't be fair.
Yep.
What do you want to bet the quote unquote trans women teams are going to dominate the trans men, and then we'll finally have a female sports league that people will watch?
You think they'll separate them by how they identify?
I think they'll say, "Oh, it's just a matter of skill." Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of skill. We don't know. No, see, this person's non-binary over here. Some of the commentary is funny. Real question: are the rules different? I just played in a flag football game with gay players on my team, so we can't just play together. I'm trying to figure out this one because I'm totally lost. Sage Steele said, "So does this mean straight guys are allowed to play in the ngffl?" Kind of like how gay guys are allowed to play in the NFL and have been for years. The marketing strategy for this league will be fascinating. Can't wait to watch the commercials. So, okay, they responded to Sage Steele. Valid question. Here's the answer. Yes, indeed. All 27 of our city leagues include straight players. Our league is a place where everyone belongs. Ladies, if your husband or fiance is one of the straight players in the ngffl, that's a red flag. I'm calling a flag on the play there. Okay? I don't know. Our league is a place where everyone belongs. It's an accepting environment where everyone is free to be themselves, which may not always be the case on all football teams. Matthew Peterson, he's the editor-in-chief of The Blaze. My lifelong Buffalo Bills plus Giants, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, Cardinals, Bears, Commanders, and Seahawks are funding a not just metaphorically gay flag football league. Behold the not-so-free market. Bake the cake, bigot. The Babylon Bee. And my apology to Cowboys fans for this joke. They posted this. Nation unsure why Buffalo Bills starting gay football team when Dallas Cowboys already exist. What is that supposed to mean? I don't understand. As someone who was born and raised in Dallas myself, are the Dallas Stars gay?
My dad does call them the Cowgirls.
Oh, is it just because they're bad now?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I don't know enough about the
well, in defense
hatred of the
Dallas,
Cowboys.
The last I read, the Texas Rangers were the only team that did not have a Pride Night.
Yep, that's true.
Why do MLB teams need a Pride Night? Again, let's think about what we are talking about here. We are talking about how certain people prefer to do it. But that just doesn't need to be a part of sports.
No.
That doesn't need no one needs to talk about that.
No, and it's weird because it's in their best interest to not talk about it based on who their main audience is. So I've never understood that, why the sports leagues cater to that at all.
Yeah.
It's not like Target where they feed on empathy. It's like these are men, typically straight men, watching this content. Why?
It's colonialism. It's left-wing colonialism. Like I always say that like left-wing activists, like they are woken up in the middle of the night by the terrifying realization that some random person in Kansas disagrees with them. Like, and they're like, how do I change that?
Yeah.
I got it. More rainbows, more rainbows, more rainbows, more drag queens. Let's go. Okay, really quickly. Speaking of something that is super, super just gay, in the sense that it is just wrong, that women are apparently being added to the military draft, or this is a proposal, right, in the House of Representatives right now. Yeah,
it was a proposal. It probably will not pass, but people are freaking out about it.
So this is in the Senate. Meanwhile, the Senate Armed Forces Committee has introduced its own version of the NDAA, which would make women eligible for the draft. It's also something that the Senate has repeatedly proposed over the past few years without ever managing to get it past both chambers of Congress. No, as a girl mom, no. And I'm sure boy moms would say the same thing. Like at this point, people are not excited to have a lot of people are not excited to have their kids serve in the military. I'm not saying that the people who do serve in the military don't deserve so much honor because they are so courageous, and I'm thankful for them. But with the ideology that seems to be so pervasive in the military right now and in our federal government, a lot of parents are understandably like, what? Especially when it comes to the draft, because that's compulsory. And you're going to tell me that women and girls are going to be drafted? No. I know that Israel does it. I know that Sweden or whoever does it. There are other countries that do it. They're all wrong. Women should not be drafted. I mean, I kind of have an issue with the draft, I think, anyway. But women, no. Our bodies are different. We're not meant to do that. I personally think women shouldn't be in combat, period. But to be drafted, no. So that's my answer to that. I don't think it's going to pass right now. I think theme of today's episode is the denial of and the subversion of God-designated, biologically true genders and gender roles, and why God's ways are just better. And so don't stop being an agent of God's order and goodness and sharing the arrows with other people who do the same. All right, that's all we've got time for today and this week. We will be back here on Monday.